So here it is, the Rabbit R1. It's a brand new product that's been hyped up for the last few months. It was announced at CES 2024 during Rabbit's keynote. So, is it worth the hype? So for those of you that aren't familiar with the R1, it's an AI device made to be your personal companion. So it's designed to carry out tasks for you or assist you with your needs. The R1 has an almost 3-inch display, a push-to-talk button, a speaker, built-in mic, a 360-degree rotating camera that they call the Rabbit Eye, and an analog scroll wheel as well as a USB-C and SIM card slot. The R1 costs $199 and comes with the device and a case in the box. That's it. It doesn't bring a charger, so make sure you have a USB-C handy because you'll have to update it when you first boot it up. But overall, it actually looks pretty cool and feels pretty good in your hands. It's a little wider than most phones, but shorter and lighter. It was designed by Teenage Engineering, who are known for designing good-looking hardware, and this is no exception. So looks aside, what can it actually do? Let's start simple. You can ask it questions and take requests. So for searching the web and gathering information, it's actually been very fast and reliable. At least it feels that way because it has a screen, so you're looking at the animation as it searches instead of just waiting there. And I've tried asking follow-up questions and it's pretty decent at continuing to provide answers. So let's see. Who was the last captain for the New York Yankees?
The last captain for the New York Yankees was Derek Jeter.
When did Derek Jeter retire?
Derek Jeter retired from professional baseball in 2014.
Why did he retire?
I am here to attend to your needs.
Why did Derek Jeter retire?
Yes, Derek Jeter retired from professional baseball in 2014.
So, sometimes it's really good at answering your questions. Other times it just decides it doesn't know or it doesn't even understand what you're asking for. This is one of those times, but it just really depends on the information it can find. It can do other stuff too that you can do on your phone, like playing music and ordering food and rides. Spotify for me has worked okay. I wouldn't really use this for music, but I tested it out and it initially worked well. And then I tried it again before going to bed and it just wouldn't play the music. Then I remembered that when I initially tried playing music, I was on Wi-Fi and it worked well, but the second time I was on 4G and it just wouldn't start the music player. So that specific feature for me doesn't work when I'm on 4G. There's a few other issues that kind of seem to pop up depending on if you're using 4G or Wi-Fi, which I'll get into in a bit. But there are other features too, like ordering Ubers or food using DoorDash and using Midjourney by linking your accounts to, the respected services. I don't really use Uber and DoorDash because I try to support the business locally, but these are the 4 connections that are, available with the R1. It's Spotify, rideshare with Uber, food with DoorDash, and Midjourney. But other R1 users have reported some issues like slow response time from DoorDash with a message saying this may take a while to load or just not working at all. But regardless if it's an issue with the R1 or with the app, it's not perfect and it's kind of a hit or miss. However, a feature that I found to work well is the translation. So you can translate between languages, which I'll demonstrate now, and it does very well, or at least it did when I tested it. So let's try again live. Rabbit, translate from English to Spanish. I tried to activate it there, but previously I was in the settings, or I might have just activated now by shaking. So it doesn't work unless you're in the home page. When that appears, the rabbit, now I can click the button and activate it again. So translate from English to Spanish.
Starting the translator now.
Okay, so I'm gonna pretend to be talking to someone that's visiting the city and I haven't seen them in a while. So first I'll ask it in English. Hey, how's it been? It's been a while. How long are you in the city for?
¿Cómo ha estado? Ha pasado un tiempo. ¿Cuánto tiempo llevas en la ciudad?
Now I'll ask, well, I'll just put some subtitles so, I don't have to do the back and forth for those who don't understand Spanish. Estoy bien, nada más estoy aquí por una semana y hoy quiero ir a un restaurante y no sé a dónde ir.
I'm fine, Namad. I'm here for a week, and today I want to go to a restaurant, and I don't know where to go.
Well, what kind of food do you like? Is there anything you want in particular?
¿Hay algo quieras en particular?
It works fine. At least it works well enough that if you're actually, well, at least in English and Spanish, I don't speak any other languages, but it works well enough that you can translate between two people that speak, different languages. And then there are other features that revolve around the camera, or rabbit eye as they call it. But before getting into those features, I want to talk about the UI a little bit. It's fairly simple and straightforward, but it's not efficient, if that makes any sense. The way that it works is that you shake it to get into the menu, and then you can scroll using the wheel and then just click into the submenus. I wish I could adjust the sensitivity of the scroll, and I would like to make it so that the scroll is a little faster using the same input, but that's not a big deal. It's not the end of the world. Where it gets more tedious is getting back to the main menu or just returning to the previous menu. So if you scroll really far down into a menu, you have to scroll all the way back up in order to return to the previous menu. And I think an easy workaround would be to just shake the device and have it return to the previous screen, kind of like you do when you want to get to the settings to begin with. Either that or just tell Rabbit, take me to the main menu, which you can't do. As you can see, I'll demonstrate. Take me to the settings.
Starting the translator now.
So,
the app is experiencing issues.
there you
Please
go.
try again later or provide more information.
So,
Thank you.
So I'm glad I'm getting this live, because sometimes it's just very accurate and it just detects what I'm trying to say and what I want. And sometimes it'll just tell me it can't do that, which I prefer. But this just seems like it's not functioning, it just doesn't know what to do. And there's other things like no audio or visual cues when listening and processing sometimes. Like when you ask it to detect something using the camera, I wish it made a shutter sound or something so I know it registered. Sometimes I'm just there waiting for it to, just waiting to know if it registered what I'm looking at. And the R1 can't adjust your volume, brightness, and any other settings by telling it to do so, as you just saw. You have to go into the menus manually. I feel like it should be able to do these things on its own. So getting around the menu isn't complicated, but it's not effortless. All right, so the rabbit eye. You can ask it to detect things in front of you and use it for turning documents into CSV files. I had some issues trying to convert some documents, but I've seen this work well for others online. So I guess it's just like a hit or miss sometimes. All right, so I have this spreadsheet document that I'm gonna ask R1 to turn into PDF and add another column, or I should say another row, and fill in one of the columns. I tried this a few times before, as you can see here. By the way, I'm not gonna edit any of this, so you're gonna see in real time the speed. But I tried a few times already, and I'll throw up those examples up too, so you can kind of see. It didn't get it quite right any of the time, but I'm gonna go ahead and demonstrate live now so you can see. So this is the document. And let's see. Rabbit, this is a spreadsheet I made. Can you turn it into a PDF document? And add another row, and in the first column, add the word animations.
Let me see. The spreadsheet has been edited. Please check your email for the attachment.
So you can see how fast that was. That was like a few seconds after, after I showed it to the camera. But the thing is, it's really fast, and I'm on Wi-Fi, by the way. Well, let's see how it looks. All right, so I redid the spreadsheet because on the previous one, the paper had lines on it. So I'm not sure if that's why the rabbit keeps getting confused. So I'm just gonna try again. And this time I used a Sharpie instead of a pen. So that way the lines are just a little bit more defined. So let's try that again. Scan the spreadsheet for me and add another row. In that new row, in the first column, add the word animations.
The spreadsheet has been edited. Please check your email for the attachment.
So the Rabbit Hole is a web portal where you can see your journal entries and manage your device preferences and connections. But honestly, it feels very unfinished, probably because it is. So when you initially set up your device, you'll be prompted to create an account so that you can link external services like Spotify and Uber. The way you do this is by scanning a QR code using the rabbit eye. But the thing is, I initially tried to do this on my iPhone, but the camera was just blurry and it just wouldn't read the QR code. I thought it was because of dynamic range on the camera. Because it's only a $200 device, the camera isn't great. And my phone screen was like super bright and I thought it was just blown out, and it just couldn't detect like the highlights from I was in like a dim room. So I thought it just couldn't pick up the screen. So then I tried dimming the screen and that didn't work either. So eventually I just did it on my 27-inch desktop monitor and that worked instantly, but that's more of a problem with the hardware instead of the software. It's still a problem, but the reason I mentioned setting up the rabbit hole portal is because at the event, one of the R1 holders was trying to use a tablet to set up their account. But the thing is that when he would try to log in and click into the email and password boxes to enter his credentials, the keyboard wouldn't pop up because it was running a desktop website because it doesn't have a dedicated app. Once you get it up and running, you can see your journal entries, manage your external connections, and edit your profile. So the R1 costs $199 flat and it doesn't require a subscription. Because of this, I think it's a good value for the money for some people, despite all of the bugs. Start a recording session. Okay, so it started recording. I'm just gonna sit it down on the table. So this is the last feature I wanted to showcase to prove my point. A single year of Perplexity, their paid tier is $200. You get this built into R1 forever for the same price. On top of that, there's AI devices out there that are used for audio recordings that are around the same price as this. So your recording will be sent to the rabbit hole once you've ended the recording session, and you'll have a text summary of the voice recording as well. Well, at least I hope so, if it's working, because I wanted to test this feature out for the first time myself right now live. So other people have tested it, but this is literally my first time. And so far we're 46 seconds in, 50 seconds in. And I will mention though that some users on Discord have reported longer voice recordings were never sent to the rabbit hole, but shorter ones have. So if everything goes well, I'll show the website on the screen and you'll see how it works. So you can also edit the summary and add notes if you'd like to. So in this video, I gave you my experience with the R1 so far, but I also wanted to mention, I've been in the community Discord, and I wanted to mention some issues that I've had and some other people have had as well, even if I didn't deal with them myself. So Rabbit is aware of many of these issues and they're working on it, and Jesse, the CEO, has confirmed an OTA update next week. But it would be unfair to y'all to not mention them now. Some of the known issues are not being able to change your time zone. It's currently set to Pacific timing, and the only known fix to it is to insert a SIM card. This worked for me, but some users it didn't work for. And also the battery life has been so bad, probably partly because it's such a small battery, but also it just needs better optimization and needs to be improved via software. So I stopped using my device last night at 12:52 a.m. and I wrote it down, so I know it's exactly at 12:52 a.m. And when I went to use it the next day in the morning at around 9:45, it was completely dead, like 0%. I had to charge it back up again and before I could even use it. And then there's also other quality of life improvements that it needs. Also small things like being able to see how strong your 4G and Wi-Fi connection are in the homepage. Currently, you can only see the time and your battery. I'll also put the Discord in the description if you order your R1 and want to report bugs or just have questions in general. The headlining thing for R1 was the lamp functionality, but in the current state, it needs to do more action. It's a large action model. Rabbit is still working on features like teach mode, which should heavily improve the amount of things you can train the R1 to do for you. But as of now, it isn't out. And the features that are out right now, like converting documents into CSV files and editing them, are not perfect by any means. Again, as an early adopter for this technology, you accept the early adopter problems, but they still need work. And I just shook it so it keeps going into the menu. But those are some of the features and what it does, but where does this fit into our lives? Like, it's really a roller coaster of good and bad things with the R1. Like, it gives you a glimpse of what's possible and how useful it can be once they figure it out, and it gets you really excited about it, but then it strips it away from you when it doesn't get a prompt right or can't do things like send out emails, which would be super useful. But I feel like down the line, this would have been a better tool used independently from your phone for someone who doesn't want to necessarily be distracted all the time by their phone. Because if you think about it, once they get a decent amount of apps supported on the R1, this can be a good way to have a companion, as they say, without the distractions your phone tempts you with whenever you unlock it, you know, like social media, and then you begin to scroll and whatever. Now, this isn't replacing your phone anytime soon, clearly. That's not even what they're trying to do, but before it can even be a proper companion to your phone, they have some work to do. Right now, the way I see it is, if you're into tech and you get excited about new technology, then try it out. With the price tag of $199 and no subscription, for tech enthusiasts, I think it's a cool little device that still needs work, of course, but I couldn't help but to get excited when I was trying to figure out like what this can do right and testing how capable it is by trying to confuse it by asking it follow-up questions. If you're someone who's already ordered the device and won't get it for a few weeks, like if you're one of the later batches, but you're watching videos to decide if you want it or not, I would say just hold on, because over the next few weeks, they'll be updating and hopefully it'll be improved. And I think the approach they took with the R1 release and marketing is part of the reason why I'm not super hard on it. Not that I'm denying that it needs to be worked on, but with this bright orange and friendly design and the fun animations, it's almost like a toy for adults and tech people. Like if they came at it from a different angle and said, everyone needs this device, and tried to make it feel super premium and it'll be the productivity machine everyone needs and you'll save a bunch of time and money because it's going to make your life easier the minute you start using it, then the pressure and expectations of the device are just through the roof. They're much higher. With a fairly affordable price and then being very transparent with the issues they're having, it doesn't feel like I'm getting scammed for $200. Don't get me wrong, they're still trying to sell you a device and will promote the good before the bad. Of course, they're a business, but I'm able to tolerate it a bit more. Will this be the case in the future? I don't know. That's up to them to show us by releasing frequent updates and keeping the community informed. And honestly speaking, I generally think that the R1 can be a very helpful tool, but the thing is, some of the features that the R1 does well aren't exclusive to the R1. So like ChatGPT and other programs can search the web for you and help you code, create resumes and whatever else, right? The one feature that is exclusive to the R1, Teach Mode, thanks to the LAMP system, will be coming in the future, so we don't know how well it'll work. And I don't expect it to work perfectly at launch either, but let's say eventually they get it to work perfectly, or at least well enough that it's genuinely useful to the user. If other companies see how useful this feature is, they will without a doubt implement it into their own services and software, maybe even as a separate app. So where does that leave Rabbit and the R1? Like if Apple and Google, for example, decide to implement it into their software, do you no longer need a personal companion to your smartphone, or does it live in its own space where people carry an extra device because of its simplicity and ease of use? Now, I don't want to get ahead of myself either, because of course, we don't even know what it'll be like, but I've seen some genuinely good points online. Some people are just hating on the device because naturally that's what people do. But also, there are some things that just don't work well and need to be addressed, which is very valid if people complain about it. But there's also people that are really excited and see a future for this technology. If you're in this category, then try it out. And it's an imperfect device that needs some work, but it's really cool. And honestly, when I ordered this device, I wasn't sure how interested I'd be in it personally once I got it. I was gonna cover it for the channel and I wasn't sure how useful it was going to be for me. Of course, I wanted it to be useful, but now getting my hands on it, I'm more excited about it and I want to see how it can fit into my life. I meant to mention this earlier, but now I'm at 66% and I think I was at 73 when I started the video. So, and my recording so far has been 31 minutes. So, you know, that's just to show you the battery life on it. But if you're someone that's expecting a perfect device that's going to get it right every time you request something, then maybe wait this one out and wait a while. These are just my first impressions of the R1. I'll keep y'all updated with the longer term review in the upcoming weeks, but that's all from me. I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.